What if I told you that your IQ might stay the same forever, but your emotional intelligence can double in just a year? Here's the paradox. Two people with the same brain power, same opportunities. One becomes a respected leader, thriving in relationships and career. The other? Stuck, bitter, wondering why life feels so unfair. The difference isn't intelligence, it's emotional intelligence. And here's what Carl Jung understood that most people miss. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Translation: your emotions are running your life right now, and you don't even see it. Harvard research shows EQ explains over 90% of what separates high performers from everyone else. But here's the kicker. Most people think they're already good at it, when in reality, they're trapped at level 2. Welcome back to the Logic Room, where philosophy meets practice. Today, we're diving into the 5 levels of emotional intelligence, and by the end of this video, you'll know exactly where you stand and how to climb to the next level. Let's start with the brutal truth about level 1. Level 1, emotional blindness. You're being controlled, and you don't know it. You're in a meeting. Your boss criticizes your work. Something rises in your chest, but you can't name it. Next thing you know, you've snapped at a colleague and ruined your entire afternoon. Later, someone asks, "Why did you do that?" Your answer? I don't know. That's level 1. Psychologists call this alexithymia, the inability to put emotions into language. And without awareness, emotions don't just influence your decisions, they hijack them completely. These are the people who insist, "I'm not angry," while their face is red, who send 2 a.m. texts they regret by morning, who explode over small things and genuinely don't understand why everyone's walking on eggshells. Think about the manager who screams at her team about a missed deadline. She thinks it's about work, but the real trigger? Her marriage is falling apart, and she doesn't even realize that's the source. Here's the damage. At work, you're labeled unpredictable career killer. In relationships, people don't feel safe. Internally, chronic stress without understanding where it's coming from. Carl Jung nailed it. You can't manage what you can't see. But once you start seeing, welcome to level 2. Level 2, emotional awareness. You see the storm, but you're still standing in the rain. Now, you've had your breakthrough. You can feel the anger rising. You recognize, "I'm anxious," or "that made me resentful." Here's the problem. Awareness doesn't equal control. Daniel Goleman describes this as an amygdala hijack. Your brain's alarm system triggers as if you're in danger. Even when you know you're angry, your body still reacts, heartbeat spikes, thoughts race, and you say things you'll regret. You see the words forming. You know you're about to say something hurtful. You can already feel the regret, and you say it anyway. The pattern: recognize, react, regret. On repeat. You know you're stressed, but you still snap at your kids. You recognize you're jealous of your coworker, but you gossip anyway. You're aware you're being emotional. Then you continue being emotional. Here's why level 2 is harder than level 1. At level 1, you're blissfully unaware. At level 2, you're painfully aware. And that awareness without control feels like torture. It's like knowing you're drowning, but not knowing how to swim. But you've woken up, and once you're awake, you can learn the skills for level 3, where real power begins. Level 3, emotional regulation. You control the flames. This is where everything changes. You don't just recognize emotions, you manage them. Viktor Frankl discovered something profound. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose. Level 3 people have found that space. Your colleague criticizes you unfairly in front of everyone. You feel the anger. Every fiber screams. Attack. Defend. But instead you pause. 3 deep breaths. Let me think about this and get back to you. You're not suppressing that's unhealthy. You're regulating. Massive difference. Real example. Someone betrays your trust. Your instinct is to cut them off, blast them. But you wait. You process. When you're ready, you say, "I'm hurt by what you did," without turning it into a weapon. This is what the Stanford marshmallow experiment proved. Children who could delay gratification had better life outcomes decades later, not because they suppressed desires, but because they learned to regulate them. The advantage? At work, trusted with leadership. In relationships, the safe person others open up to. Research shows 60% less anxiety and depression than levels 1 to 2. But here's the limit. You've mastered your inner world. You're calm, collected, in control of yourself. But you're blind to everyone else. You manage your emotions beautifully, but miss the tension in the room. You're stable but confused when relationships fail despite doing everything right. To reach level 4, turn your focus outward. Level 4, empathy. You read the invisible. Now, you're not just emotionally intelligent, you're socially intelligent. You walk into a room and sense the energy, something's off. Your colleague says, "I'm fine," but you catch the micro-expression. They're not fine. You feel tension before it escalates. Neuroscience explains this through mirror neurons. Cells that fire both when you act and when you observe others. You literally feel with them, not just think about their situation. A level 4 leader notices subtle stress in an employee's voice and adjusts workload before burnout hits. They know Sarah needs public recognition, while John prefers private praise. They read people and adapt. Stanford research shows nearly all top performers operate at level 4 or above. These are negotiators who find win-wins nobody else saw. Leaders people want to follow. Friends everyone calls first. Here's the paradox. Many mistake empathy for weakness, but in reality, it's one of the greatest sources of influence. When people feel understood, they don't just listen, they follow. But level 4 has a dark side, over-empathy. You feel everyone's pain so intensely, you forget your own boundaries. You absorb every emotion until you're burned out. You become a people pleaser, understanding everyone's needs except your own. That's why level 5 is true mastery. Level 5, emotional mastery. You alchemize emotions into power. Only 5 to 10% of people reach level 5. They've integrated everything: self-awareness, regulation, empathy, and now strategic influence. They don't just manage emotions, they transform them into fuel for focus, motivation, and connection. When they enter a space, something shifts. Not because they're loud or charismatic, because they carry presence that makes others feel safe to be themselves, more creative, more honest, more alive. They transform conflict into breakthroughs. They shape emotional environments to bring out the best in everyone. Think about Nelson Mandela. After 27 years in prison, he had every reason for bitterness. Instead, he transformed pain into a vision of reconciliation that inspired a nation. That's mastery. Emotions alchemized into power. Harvard research shows high EQ leaders don't eliminate emotions from decisions. They harness them, transforming anxiety into preparation, frustration into innovation, fear into focus. Their secret? Strategic vulnerability. They know when to open up to build trust, when to hold boundaries. Their question isn't, "How can I win?" It's, "How can I serve this person's growth?" But level 5 is not manipulation. True level 5 is genuine care combined with wisdom. Real power isn't controlling emotions, it's liberating them in others. Getting here takes years. You cannot skip levels. Every master was once a disaster at level 1.